morning and thank everyone for being here. We are here today to make sure our country keeps a promise we made after 9/11 to always be there to take care of the firefighters and officers, the police, the EMS, the construction workers, the volunteers, the survivors, everyone who is sick and injured today because of their work on the deadly pile with the deadly toxins. On 9/11, we lost almost 3,000 people, but since 9/11, thousands more are sick, in some cases extremely sick. This promise we kept when we made the 9/11 program permanent just over 2 years ago. So we have a message for OMB Director Mick Mulvaney. Leave the 9/11 healthcare program alone. Let it help the people that were there to help others. We are quite the group today because we all know how dangerous Mr. Mulvaney's proposal is. So I want to thank my colleagues and fellow Zadroga authors, Congressman Nadler and King, the incomparable John Stewart, who has been an incredible foot soldier in helping us pass this bill, John Field and Peg Seminaria, tireless 9/11 health advocates, Gerald Fitzgerald and Jake Lamonda, the presidents of the Firefighters and Fire Officers Union of New York City, who have also been incredible advocates for their members. Dr. Jacqueline Moline, one of the founding doctors involved in the development of the World Trade Center Health Program. And Terrence Opiola and Sal Tortorisi, two of our nation's greatest and bravest, who for their service are now suffering from 9/11 related illnesses and rely on the health program for the care that they so justly need. And we are here today to support them and thousands more. Contained in the President's proposed budget for 2019 is a horribly thought out and dangerous proposal and a change to the management and administration of the World Trade Center Health Program. This proposed change, which we believe is OMB Director Mulvaney's idea, is a threat to the health and well-being of thousands of 9/11 injured and ill responders and survivors. Mr. Mulvaney proposes that we tear the World Trade Center Health Program from the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, and move NIOSH to the National Institute of Health, and then leave the World Trade Center alone as a standalone over in the CDC Center for Disease Control. This means that the health program would lose the management expertise of NIOSH and the knowledge base the Institute has gained from its more than a decade of experience running the program, and send it off. And on top of that, the proposal has no information, none whatsoever on how this move will take place and be carried out, and no discussion about what the impact will be on the more than 83,000 men and women who are in the program, survivors who depend on the program for care and who reside all over the country, every state, and in 433 of the 435 congressional districts, there are members from that state in the program. This proposal is not only dangerous, it's completely devoid of reason. It is irrational. It makes no sense. It also directly contradicts the bipartisan congressional legislation that we passed overwhelmingly just 3 years ago, renewing the NIOSH program for 75 years. Director Mulvaney needs to immediately withdraw this proposal. You all saw the fierceness with which we all fought for the program. We fought for that program for 15 years and for the reauthorization. And you can bet that you will see us fight with just the same fierce determination to make sure that the program is there to serve the heroes and heroines of 9/11. I thank you, and I now yield to my friend and colleague on the other side of the aisle who played such an important role in passing this legislation, Peter King, and then to Gerald Madden.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. And let me thank Carol and thank Jerry for the tremendous work they've done. This has been a truly bipartisan effort. And at times where they could have taken and had the right to take a few partisan shots, they always put the first responders and all the victims ahead of politics. I want to thank him for that. I want to thank John Stewart for his energy and his dedication and his work over the years on this, making this possible. I want to thank Jerry and Jake from the UFA and the UFOA and all the members of the Firefighters Union and Officers Union who did so much to bring this about. I'm going to make this very brief. Since I've been in Congress, I think Jerry and Carolyn would agree, there's probably never been a federal program enacted at the federal level that has gone through with no complaints, no criticisms, no allegations of mismanagement, no allegations of scandal, no allegations of being ineffective. This has been an entirely 100% effective program. It took us a long time to get it enacted, but when it was enacted in 2010 and then reauthorized in 2015, we know personally so many people whose lives were saved, so many people were treated, so many people who are going in for regular examinations to anticipate any illness they may get in the future. This is a moral obligation we have to those from 9/11. And I have to say, this is Mulvaney. Mulvaney, when he was in the House in 2015, after the program was already in effect for almost 5 years and working flawlessly, he voted against reauthorizing. He was against reauthorizing. He never supported the program. And this to me is he's voted against New York. He's voted against so many different issues. And again, the fact that he is always again doing what he can to frustrate what I feel is good government. So we have to stop this now. We have to make sure it never sees the light of day. The fact that it was put in the budget without any of the members of Congress who worked on it being consulted, without any of the first responders being consulted, without anybody in the pertinent agencies being consulted, shows to me this was a backdoor attempt to kill a program and a weaken a program and a hurt a program which is doing so much good for so many. So I'm committed to work with Jerry, to Carolyn, and really good people on both sides of the aisle to make sure that this proposal by Mulvaney is killed, it's dead, and never shows itself again. So thank you. And with that, let me yield to my, again, very good friend, Jerry Nadler, who has done so much on this. He was among the first, if not the first, to be pointing this out back in the early days before people realized the full extent of how deadly it was going to be. Jerry, please.
Thank you, Peter. We know what a catastrophe 9/11 was. We know what a catastrophe it was not only for the whole country, but for the people who lived there, who worked there, for the first responders who responded, for the ongoing health catastrophe for all these people. Congress stepped up to the plate and did something about it. In 2010, we passed the Zadroga Act, the 9/11 Health and Compensation Bill. In 2015, we reauthorized it. And it is not broken. It has worked very well. The World Trade Center Health Program works. It treats tens of thousands of first responders and survivors all over this country, in every state, in nearly every congressional district. The expertise of the men and women of NYOSH have saved lives, brought comfort to grieving families, and eased the suffering of these injured heroes. Why on earth would we change it now, just 2 years after Congress reviewed and reauthorized? Why upend this entire carefully organized, effective, and efficient program? What possible function would that serve? And how on earth would that help the responders and survivors who depend on it to get the care they need? The truth is, we have no idea how this proposal would work. We have no idea why Mick Mulvaney and the administration have proposed this change. And as long as this proposal stands, we have no idea whether the incredible people of NYOSH will be able to continue providing the compassionate expert care to the families who rely on this program. This proposal must be withdrawn. the name of the men and women who rely on the World Trade Center Health Program, in the names of their families and children and grandchildren, we call on Mick Mulvaney and the administration to reverse this proposal and protect the responders and survivors of the September 11th attacks. We made a promise to them that this program would be there for them no matter what. I refuse to walk back that promise because of some misguided, uninformed policy proposal. It should be withdrawn now. There's an old saying that a lot of my Republican colleagues particularly delight in saying about various proposals: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This ain't broke. Nobody thinks it's broken in any way. As Pete pointed out, no one has said it wastes money or is inefficient or anything else. And nobody was consulted in this. Don't take a program which is so vital to so many people and risk destroying it for no reason whatsoever. This proposal must be withdrawn, and all of those of us who worked so hard for so many years to enact it in the first place and who care about the people who rushed into the buildings, about the people, the heroes, the first responders, and the survivors, we will not let this thing happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first speaker now will be Peg Seminario from the Citizens for the Extension of the James Zadroga Health and Safety Officer for the AFL-CIO. Peg, thank you.
Thank you very much. So you've heard how devastating this budget proposal is to the 9/11 responders and survivors. It's a direct attack on a program that has been life-saving for these individuals. But the proposal goes further than that. As Representative Maloney said, it would tear NIOSH apart, sending NIOSH to NIH and leaving the World Trade Center program at CDC. But it does more than that. It proposes to slash and cut what's left of NIOSH in its budget by 40%. Let me tell you a little bit about what NIOSH does. In addition to the wonderful work it does, overseeing and directing the World Trade Center program, NIOSH is the agency that protects the health and safety. It does the research and the surveillance for our construction workers, our coal miners, our firefighters, and for all workers. It's nearly 50 years old. It was established by law under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. The Mine Safety and Health Act established NIOSH as the entity to do the research and surveillance on our nation's coal miners. Congress saw fit to establish NIOSH as the agency with the expertise to provide the oversight on the health care for our energy workers, and then for the 9/11 responders. And so this proposal doesn't just attack and go after the World Trade Center survivors and responders. It also goes to the heart of destroying the efforts and the programs that have been in place to protect our nation's coal miners, our construction workers, and our firefighters and other workers. And as all of us here have said, this proposal is ill-advised, it's destructive, and it's dangerous. It's time for Mick Mulvaney to withdraw this proposal, and if he doesn't, I can tell you that we are going to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now it's my honor to introduce the real Twin Towers of New York, our firefighters and fire officers. Gerard Fitzgerald, president of the Local 94 of the firefighters, and Jake Lamonda, president of Local 854 of the fire officers, AFL-CIO.
Good morning. I'm Gerard Fitzgerald, president of the Uniformed Firefighters Association. On September 11th, while America was under attack, New York City firefighters answered the call. On that day, 343 of our brothers in the FDNY died trying to save our fellow Americans. Nearly 17 years later, after terrorists attacked our nation, New York City firefighters continue to suffer from disease and cancers contracted while working in the rescue and recovery efforts at Ground Zero. And over 160 of these men and women have passed away since. I see the impact of these diseases every single day in the members I represent in the Uniformed Firefighters Association. I've been to far too many funerals since 9/11, and there is no end in sight. Mick Mulvaney and the entire OMB should be absolutely ashamed of themselves for trying to cut the care of thousands of firefighters who are sick and dying because they were there on September 11th and answered the call to try and save the lives of their fellow Americans. Every single person here today fought hard to get Zadroga Act passed. In the first place, because it was the right thing to do for the brave men and women who didn't think twice on September 11th. For Mulvaney and OMB to now go after what we worked so hard to put in place is an insult. I want to thank everybody up here, Representatives Maloney, Nadler, and King, for working together on behalf of New York City firefighters to right an egregious wrong. Thank you to John Stewart, Dr. Moline, all the other advocates up here. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Jake Lamonda, President of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association, and I, along with my executive board, are here today to advocate and represent the New York City fire officers. I'd like to take a moment and thank Congressman Maloney, Congressman King, Congressman Adler, because these three people from New York City are such a great voice in advocating for the citizens day in and day out. I also like to acknowledge John Stewart. There's been no greater friend to New York City fire officers and firefighters than John. He's been the voice of reason when we had to come down here to Washington to advocate for everybody that worked down at the World Trade Center, who toiled in that toxic stew. We have over 170 members who have succumbed to illnesses related to the World Trade Center. 170 people have died because of their illnesses. Today, as I speak to you, we have thousands who are suffering from that toxic stew. Remember the words, the environment is safe. We knew it wasn't safe, but we did the right thing. Why? Because that's what we do. Just down the street, there's hundreds of firefighters gathered under the leadership of Harold Schaeberger and the IAFF for our legislative conference. Every single day across this country, they do the right thing. Why? Because that's what we do. And I'm asking Director Mulvaney, I want you to do the right thing and take this out of the budget right now, because this is important to us and there was a promise that we would be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you for really your beautiful, beautiful statement. From the beginning, there was a dedicated group of physicians that worked to first document that there was a connection between 9/11 and illness, and then to help create the program and now to run it. And with us today is Dr. Jerry Moline, Director of the Queens World Trade Center program at the Health, she is the Northwell Health and Chair, Department of Occupational Medicine and Prevention at Northwell. Dr. Moline, you moved.
I did.
I thought you were inside.
I used to be at Sinai, and you know, I've been a part of these programs since September 2001. Now think about this. You're sick. You go, you call up, you find who has the most expertise to take care of your medical problem. For those of us who have been in the World Trade Center health programs, we've had that leadership from NIOSH and from working in partnership when we have issues, taking care of our patients every day. We have pharmacy benefit programs. We know that they're very complicated. There's just been a new one that's been negotiated that will be standing with NIOSH at CDC. Now we have to disrupt that. How are my patients going to be insured that they're going to get their chemotherapy and it's going to be available for them when they are going to need it? When I need to call someone up from the federal government, from NIOSH, to get advice, to say, we have a new condition we think should be covered, and provide them with the scientific information, I want to be able to talk to somebody who's been involved with that program for 15 years. If I don't have that anymore, who am I going to call? How am I going to take care of my patients? This makes no sense to move it where you're going to have the expertise in the partnership that we've developed. We've worked, the doctors, the academic medical centers, and the government have worked together to forge this program. The program is working. We're taking care of patients seamlessly, and to disrupt that would be an egregious affront to all the brave men and women who have suffered because they responded when we needed them most. So I urge Mr. Mulvaney to keep the program where it is, and will continue to fight to make sure that NIOSH is the appropriate leadership and remains in CDC where it should be. CDC is a Center for Disease Control and Prevention. What we're trying to do is prevent illnesses. That's where it should stay.
We're now going to hear from two survivors and two heroes who are suffering and who will be affected in their treatment, as Dr. Moline so appropriately and eloquently spoke about. Terrence Opiola, he's a retired Homeland Security Special Agent who suffers from 9/11 related leukemia and respiratory injuries. Terrence Opiola.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a little ironic that I'm standing in the back over here, and I know everyone's trying to listen to the speakers, but all I hear are sirens going off. You know, and who's responding to whatever's taking place. It could be firemen, it could be cops, it could be anyone. I thought that was really it hit me pretty hard standing back there. My name is Terrence Opiola. I am a 9/11 first responder. And in September of 2017, I left a job that I loved. I was forced to leave that job after 28 years of service to this great country. I was a criminal investigator, first with the United States Customs Service, located at 6 World Trade Center, and I retired with the Department of Homeland Security. My last several years of federal service, I was honored to have been the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Newark, New Jersey field office. And I was also a member of the Federal Senior Executive Service. 2.5 years ago, my life changed forever as I was diagnosed with a 9/11 related leukemia. This diagnosis added to the list of 8 other chronic illnesses that I've been certified through the World Trade Center Health Program. I do not know where I would be today if it wasn't for the World Trade Center Health Program and NIOSH. At Mount Sinai and Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospitals in New York City, I am treated on a regular basis by a team of doctors that are second to none. I am here today to proclaim that the system works. NIOSH and the World Trade Center Health Program work hand in glove to make sure that those who need help get it. They are the subject matter experts. They have the research and studies that show that the system in place is doing its job. You may ask, why are we fixing then something that is not broken? And how could our government, specifically OMB Director Mulvaney, make a decision to separate NIOSH and the World Trade Center Health Program without consulting our distinguished 9/11 health community? Well, I am a veteran of federal service, and I know that irrational, uneducated decisions are made every day in this city. No offense. I spent years in this city in various field offices trying to correct wrong decisions by educating many a senator, congressperson, and staffer on this very hill. I cannot believe that a fellow New Yorker, President Trump, has been fully briefed and is in agreement with OMB's decision. President Trump has been a supporter of 9/11 first responders and programs. I truly believe that if he knew that the 9/11 health community was not a part of OMB Director Mulvaney's decision, he would be as upset as we are today. I am calling on President Trump to protect 9/11 first responders and overturn OMB Director Mulvaney's ill-advised plan that will put the 9/11 health program at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. for your service. Thank you for your service. We are now going to hear from Sal Turtucci, retired emergency medical technician in the fire department, EMS, who suffers from 9/11 related cancer and respiratory injuries. Thank you for your service.
I'm Sal Tortorici. I'm a retired member of the NYEMS. I suffer from a 9/11 illness, stage 4 liver cancer. This greatly affects me. This policy greatly affects me. I get treatment every 2 weeks, slow kettering, to slow down the cancer, because my cancer is a mutated cancer. There is no chemo or radiation that can cure me. So I'm always in a terminal status. I'll never be in remission. The only thing that keeps me alive are these treatments. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that this doesn't happen. For me and my family, every day is a day that we cherish, and we make memories. So I'm here to say that this really affects me. There are 78 EMS workers for the FDNY who have cancer right now. 1,900 FDNY members, 1,900 FDNY members have cancer. It takes $6,000 for treatment for a person with cancer. You cannot change this. This is something that we need. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Why try to reinvent the wheel? This is crazy. It's common sense. That's all this is. Just a little common sense. So Mr. Director Novani, you really have to think about what you're doing. Stop trying to mess with something that shouldn't be messed with. Thank you very much.
We'll now hear from John Field. He is a voice of reason, of common sense, one of the strongest advocates we have for the 9/11 program.
No fraud, no abusive spending. Say no more. No fraud, nobody buying a $31,000 dining room set. No one taking first class ticket trips. No fraud. This is an attempt by a political hack who is reckless. And while it's wishful thinking, he can't just put this in the budget. This is going to be an act of Congress. And Congress ain't going to stand for this. But the damage is already done. He's already stoked the fear in the fragile 9/11 community. Those who are sick and dying. Those who are post-traumatic. His lacking humanity is already showing through. My politics is simple. My religion is simple. Don't be a Bob Goodlad. So if Mick Mulvaney wants a fight, then we have a fight. There's over 500 people from the state of South Carolina, his constituents that are in the program. So while he's sticking it to the 9/11 community, he's sticking it to his own constituents. I have confidence in our New York delegation, in the UFA, the UFOA, and all the unions, and my team of merry, hard-ass, core-kicking, you-know-what, 9/11 responders who will come back here and turn Congress upside down, not once, but twice, a third time. Thank you.
And now John Stewart, a voice of common sense, a voice of reason. We're so glad he's with us today and has been throughout this fight.
Thank you so much. I want to congratulate Mick Mulvaney on a job well done. I don't get to see these guys enough. And so it's always great when someone screws up their health care again and we can all get together. It is a special kind of incompetence that takes a program that was fought for 15 years by firefighters, police officers, first responders, veterans, and survivors, that has finally come to fruition and is finally working well. It's a special kind of incompetence to want to turn that upside down. I don't know if there are children watching, but I urge parents to put their children in front of the television to learn about government this way. They'll have to rewrite Schoolhouse Rock as to how a bill becomes a law and one guy screws everything up. That will be known forever as pulling a Mulvaney. If you want to pull a Mulvaney and I challenge him to come down here and look Sal in the face and look parents in the face and tell them, yeah, we don't have a really good reason for this, but we just feel like making it much more difficult for you and your family to get the health care that you need. They finally have some peace. Are we really doing this again? This is nuts. And while we're at it, if you're gonna screw things up, can you do it in like early May when it is nicer out? Because the wind is a bitter chill. And as much as we enjoy each other's company, we would prefer to do it wearing capri pants. So I can't stress enough just how asinine this is. And the only thing I would say is don't try and get sneaky and put a legislative fix in this in some kind of omnibus or must-pass legislation that attaches itself like a remora to a shark. Don't try and pull it, because these guys are all on it, and they are the sharpest, best people we have. So if you want to stand up and say, we love our first responders in this country, we love our veterans in this country, stop screwing them. Thank you.
Really well said. Thank you so much. And we will now take questions. Are there any questions? Can you identify your... We have not gotten a response yet, and we've also reached out through friends to know Mr. Mulvaney personally and asked for a meeting with the delegation, and we've asked for the change, obviously, and we are hopeful that he will listen and respond appropriately and put the program back where it belongs.
And have you gotten any assurance from the House leadership that they will not take this proposal though?
Well, it's in OMB, so we intend to change it before it gets to the floor. We can appeal to this was an OMB decision, so we were appealing to OMB first and to see where they are before going to the House leadership. I believe the House leadership would be with us.
There's no response that justifies his actions. It's that simple.
And he has not responded. Are there any other questions?
I have one. Why is he stabbed? I'm a 9/11 responder like these people here. My name is Keith LeBeau. I'd like to know why this man is stabbing us in the back. What did we do to him that warrants this act?
That's an excellent question.
He'd have to answer that.
He has to answer
So we
that.
camp out at his office until he answers us and stare us in the face and do it?
It's a free country.
It's understood that he is also, he is scheduled, I believe at 1, for a session of punching babies. So he is not available right now to meet. But after he is done with his baby punching session and his, I believe his lunch,
Puppy kicking guy.
exactly, his baby seal steak, he will hopefully meet with these people who have asked for a response and have not received one.
Thank you for coming. Like many 9/11 survivors, many come every time we have a challenge like this, and it gives us great strength to see you be inspired to work harder for you. This group will never give up. We know that, ever. And they won't stop until we get this changed. This group fought for 15 years to make this program virtually a permanent program of health care for the lives of the people who are suffering now. So we're not going to stop until this is changed. I think it's true. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Yes, ma'am?
Why isn't this a permanent program? Why can't Congress pass this so that
This is a
he is changing the law that we passed. What he's doing, in my opinion, is illegal. We passed a law that put the program in NYASH where it belongs and where it's been for 15 years. Even before the program started, there was a group of volunteers in NYASH working on research proving that the 9/11 health disease was part of 9/11 and caused by 9/11. So we believe it is the law and that he's violating the law. We are asking him to put it back where it belongs. This has been a decision of his as OMB manager and director, and we are appealing for him to move it back where it belongs.
Let me just supplement that. In 2010, we passed a 5-year law. In 2015, we made it, for all practical purposes, permanent by making it a 75-year law. So it's set in law for the next 72 years. It is the law. It is permanent. He is proposing to change that. He has a right to propose it. He has no moral right to propose it. He has a legal right to propose it. Morally, he's way off base. And we are urging him to withdraw it. And if he doesn't withdraw it, we will urge Congress not to adopt it.
Hi, Jennifer with NBC. Mr. Stewart, can you go to the mic and give us just what's your message to Mr. Trump, to President Trump, as a fellow New Yorker?
President who now? When did that happen? Look, he's a guy that has supported the first responders and veterans. He talks about how much he loves them. It's a very simple thing. I'm sure he can put a stop to it this afternoon if he wanted to. And so I would urge him to do so. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Are there any other questions? I want to thank everybody for being here. Really, we appreciate it. It's a very, very important story. We need to get it out and to the president and to everybody else in America that we need to change this. We need to stand up strongly behind our first responders. They were there for us. We need to be there for them. Thank you so much for coming. Absolutely everyone. Thank you. And I hope